Welcome to the CFDA e-commerce and logistics series in collaboration with Getting It Global. I'm Josh Halpern, your host, also known as the VanBassador, and I'm here to share insights from leading experts and brands in the global e-commerce and logistics space. In this series, we'll walk you through some of the key topics and trends that fashion brands should consider as they build their global expansion strategy. Let's check it out. Hello, everybody. CFDA, fashion designers around the world. We are here talking with Kai Lee, VP of International for Revolve Clothing. Kai, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Kai, what does this whole topic mean, value proposition?
Yeah, I think it's a very complex topic. When we enter into a new market, over value proposition actually change. We lose a few, at the same time we gain a few. It's difficult it's a difficult concept to understand. So I will start with an example. So as a retailer, that for Revolve, service level is part of our core offerings. Revolve offers 2 days free shipping and free return anywhere in the US. The best service out there, period. Now, however, outside the US, over service level for short compared to local retailers. Iconic in Australia provide same day shipping in Sydney. Samsung Fashion would provide 2-hour delivery within Seoul. So we lose the service edge there. However, that we gain something. Generally speaking, one of the key strengths of cross-border retailer is accessibility. So in the fashion industry specifically, that means brands and the styles that are not available in the local market. Now, if you can find exact same dress on Revolve in the store next door, in the physical store next door, that you most likely will try it on next door with certainty and instant joy versus waiting for 3 days for Revolve to ship to Sydney, for example.
Kai, thanks so much for breaking it down. What is value proposition? How do you use this to propel you into overseas markets? We're going to talk about 3 things that you should use to analyze your value proposition as you go into a new market. 1 is your changing of your offering, the changing of your customer demographic, and 3, the changing in your competitive landscape. So talking first with changing of your offering, Kai, what's that about?
Yeah, an early example that I shared that when we enter into a new market, over service offering changed. That we will no longer be able to provide 2-day service. We're from the best service provider. There are other people can do better than us in other market. So that part of our core offering, the service that is less competitive in a new market. At the same time, we'll be gaining a few other advantages. For example, accessibility, right? Or the ability to access products not available locally and become a key value proposition. So we need to capture those changes in the value proposition.
Great. And some of the other things that people could consider in terms of value proposition might be pricing, affiliation with influencer and aspirational groups. Are there other types of value propositions people should be looking at?
Pricing is definitely a major part of it as well. And also the brand, for example, some of the key typical value proposition for a US-based brand to go into the local market would be the authenticity. That will be another key element to consider as well.
Okay, let's talk about the changing of your customer demographics.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of time when we think about customer overseas, we believe they're identical copy of a local customer, which is not the case. There's many ways, simple ways for you to quickly check it out. For example, income profile. That when we was considering entering China, we looked at our Chinese customer shipping address, and from there we're able to map to housing value, and then through there we're able to extrapolate their income. It's very clear to us that a typical customer we have in China, their income is substantially lower than a typical customer we have in the U.S. Among all methods of segmentation that for cross-border business specifically, I found psychographic profiling is probably the best way to evaluate cross-border shoppers because accessibility is a huge part of the offering. Authenticity is very important to us. So that one of the best way to understand who your customers are is by talking to them. Interview your customer is the best way to understand them. So when I travel overseas, I normally devote my breakfast to my customers to talk to them, to understand them, so we can better serve them.
Do you feel companies should be adjusting or lowering their price or having different pricing across the globe?
That's a very complex question. There's multiple ways of thinking about it. I can think of a few on top of my head. One is that you should really looking at comparative offer or your competitors' offering. See what price point they're offering at. And you want to be able to match the similar kind of offering given the products, given the overlap of the product. For example, that when we think about Brazil, maybe there is a need for us to lower the price because student taxes are so high. So the total cost of ownership for the customer will be very, very high. That give us a reason to think about lower the price that we offer. Other things I can think about is that depending on when you lower your costs, that you are able to access a larger group of a customer. That if you're that depends on how big of market expectation do you have. If you want to tackle a larger market by selling more volume with lower profit, but with the aggregate that you will be able to bring in more absolute dollar amount of profits. That's another way of thinking about it as well.
And that obviously has implications on the branding, positioning, if you decide to go that route, right? One or the other.
Absolutely.
Thirdly, let's talk about how you can look at your competitive landscape and those changes in that market.
Yep. So looking at identifying who are your competitors, what they're offering, I think that's one of the key to look at before entering the market. Like an example I gave earlier, right? That when we going to Korea or when going to Australia, that over competitors in those markets, they are able to offer better service than us, and then those services are very difficult for us to match. It is extremely difficult. It is impossible for us to offer same-day delivery into Australia. It's impossible. So we must have to be able to offer something else that to attract customers. To where to start, I think the easiest way to start, and the way I always start, is looking at a search engine. Search engine often shares related searches. That if you search your brand name, set your setting to a different country, UK, Australia, whatever, and then when you search your brand name in the market, that a search engine always tells you on the bottom of the page that what are other related keywords being searched, and oftentimes you will see your competitor's name there. It is a great way to understand who are your closest competitor in a given market. And then from there, you can understand their offering, their value proposition to the customers.
Kai, you always manage to really undercut all of those consultants that charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for companies to use all sorts of tools and data analytics. Essentially, just to repeat this for everyone at home, this little hack. So essentially, use a VPN, change your location based on your IP address, go in and search for your products and see what are the competitors that are showing up in a Google search if that's relevant for that given market, Baidu, let's say, or anywhere else. So that's a great suggestion and obviously something people can go and do today. You can also use tools like, SimilarWeb and these others that if you have statistically relevant enough data on your site, you can look at a competitive quick flash kind of landscape, or you can look at a proxy of a similar type of company in another market, plug them into similarweb.com. It's a free tool, and then you can obviously see where their traffic's coming from and who they're competing with. Is that accurate?
That's the easiest and the fastest way to go.
Kai, thanks so much for breaking down the value proposition and how do you analyze this in your offerings as you expand globally. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.